Okay, I do believe we are up and rolling. Get all of this updated. Well, maybe it'll update, maybe it won't. Okay, when I get stuff started here, we will start to put stuff in the comments for questions. We have some questions that were put in. Gonna have to make this one a little bit shorter tonight. Getting ready for the Mother Earth News Fair down Belton, Texas, and leaving tomorrow morning. So I still have to finish packing and thawing out everything because it just snowed and all kinds of fun stuff. See if I can see myself. There we are. See if I can see myself. And I have to mute myself because there's a little bit of a delay there. Okay, so we'll get started here in a second. Let me see here. Oh, no, 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 no. Don't want to do that. There we go. Not sure what all these controls do. I'm using Stream. I'm using Streamlabs, and I'm still trying to learn how to use it. Okay. So, I don't even know where to put this. I guess I'll do this way. Go ahead and put your your questions in the comments. And we'll start answering questions here in a second. That's a great thing about having this and then having this and the other multiple other ways I have stuff going here. So we do have some questions that were put in before. Arkenberg Farms with an S dot questions. And that is the email to submit your questions in advance and get them answered here live. And again, this is done every third Thursday. This one came a little bit earlier because I think the first was on a Wednesday, so that put us really early in the month. Yes, Arkenberg Farms, all one word with an S, dot questions with an S at yahoo.com. That's for anybody that can't make it. I get a few questions here and there. Well, I thought I had questions in here. What the heck did I do with them? I know I had question. Huh. Can't tell I'm plugging stuff into my phone here. I'm not trying to. So I don't know about anybody else, but we got snow here. But we got ice first, and then we got a layer of snow. The major amount of snow went north of us and apparently is now ravaging the rest of the country. So, yeah, good luck to y'all. We didn't get it that bad, thankfully. But it doesn't matter because I'm not really doing anything this time of season, anyways. Basically, right now at the farm, we have just barely started planting. Because I run down to this the Mother Earth News Fair every year in Texas and go speak, I do not start my planting as early as I used to because I have to have somebody else take care of it while I'm gone. And I don't want to have a bunch of really small transplants or even bigger ones I got to worry about somebody killing on accident. So that's not a huge loss starting out that much later, because it's really not that much later. I found there's really no advantage because our last frost date is April 20th. So there's really no advantage you gain from starting your lettuce starts in, say, early January to mid January, as opposed to starting them basically February 1st, and then once I get back, February 10th. And then I'll start planting out. I put everything on the grow rack for now. I've got a video that I did on that, and it's basically a big baker's rack. I got a bunch of the Barina blue LEDs. You gotta get the blue ones. The blue ones work a lot better than the orange or the like white daylight ones. I tested different levels in different areas and found out those work best for microgreens and starting. The blue light's far superior. So that's why I run them in there. It's in the old walk-in, which what was it? DIY germination chamber, ultimate germination chamber, or ultimate grow room. I can't remember what it was called, but I did a whole video in there, and I had the rack and everything, and my crazy wall where I wrote all down it and was taking numbers through there. Actually, damn, I left that inside. I've been working on another way to record stuff too here recently. Got a cheap Fire tablet, little Kindle Fire tablet off Amazon. I think it was either 50 or 60 bucks. It was nothing. It's a little 8-inch tablet, about that big. And I went through, and there's this thing called a Fire Toolbox you can get online. It's coding to jailbreak, hack, whatever the heck you want to call it. And you basically knock that out and you turn it into an Android tablet. And since I do everything through Airtables here on the farm, I mean, if anybody's watched the videos, they see the barcodes floating around here and there. There was one on this morning when I'm pushing the seeder with the lime coming out of it. And on the front of it, there's a barcode that I actually scan with my phone and input, what I've been doing. With this tablet, I actually have shortcuts on the front page, and Airtable's loaded on it, and you'll just touch it, and it'll bring up those screens. I'm actually going to mount it over there on the, over there. You can't see it over there. But over there on the walk-in, and that way it'll be like a permanent, I don't know, input tool, I guess, and it'll put everything up there for me to see and actually know what's going on, so I can look back at the records whenever I want to. I think that's going to be really, really cool. And for the price, it's worth the input of, before I had to pull my phone out, and then I pointed at the barcode, or the QR code, and then I wait, and then I start punching numbers on it. Where this, it's going to be on the wall, and you'll just hit it. And I also have Homebase, which is the app we use for doing all of our clock in, clock out. And it will actually work as a clock on the wall too. So you tap that and you enter your PIN number and you clock in or you clock out, and it's right there. Perfect for employees because it's right there in front of your face. And I'll put a big, did you clock in sign above it with an arrow pointing down, so hopefully people remember. I don't know where this went. It just had it up there. I was even looking at it just a second ago. So I don't even remember exactly what the email was. There we are, from Scott. Are the more expensive radishes the Crunchy King, the Pearls, which would be the little white ones, the Celestas, which I'm not exactly familiar with those, worth the extra money? There are tons of much cheaper bulk varieties out there. Any time of the year, except for the very beginning of the spring when it's really, really easy to grow radishes quick without them getting pithy, I would say you could go with a cheap Bell or something. I actually do not grow the Crunchy King. I have heard of them. We actually use Sora. They are really good. They grow really big and they hold in the field really well. They do get really spicy during the middle of summer. Traditionally, I've grown them all the way through the season. They do get really, really spicy depending on how hot it is outside. Some people love it. A lot of people don't love it. So you gotta be really careful. I have found if you go and you do a last batch right as it's starting to warm up and you top them, just grab the bunch, twist top, leave a little bit of greens on them, throw them in the bins, you can sell those for up to 3 months. So there's no problem in actually pushing radishes further. We also do the Easter eggs. I've been doing Easter egg number 2s. I think they were number 2s. I'm not sure if there's a difference between the ones, but they are also great. French breakfast is worth buying the French breakfast and not the other ones that kind of look like them, the Devore or whatever, because they bolt real easy. I've grown French breakfast all year. They are much more mild, but they will make it. So pretty much the reason why seed manufacturers ask more for a certain type of seed is because 90% of the time it's better and it's worth it. If you're just going to plant 1 acre of radishes and the optimal time to grow it, plant the 1 acre with the cheap seed, you get the nice round radish, harvest it out, and you're done for the season. If you're going to keep doing successions and you're going to go through a lot of different times in a lot of different areas, then you really want to be more careful with the varieties you're growing. That's the same with just about anything you're doing. As cheap seed does work, like I can't even think of the other ones. The salad bowl lettuces, those work great in the spring. You're not going to grow those in the summer. That's why they're so cheap. Not really. I'd say the same thing about greenhouse tomatoes, but I really don't have any luck with anything except for the cheap seeds. Cucumbers and stuff, definitely get the more expensive seeds. The Marketmore 97s are well worth the money. Also, it's not the hillbillies, the rednecks. What are those called? It's something like that. Another one that is great. It'll come to my mind eventually. But it's another one I grow every year. It does great. The Corinthos that everybody grows, they do horrible for me. The cucumbers go in like curve because they're monocygenic or whatever it is, to where they don't need to be pollinated. So when they get pollinated, they get stupid. The thing with my tunnels is, even when I keep them sealed, I have enough ants in there that pollinate my cucumbers for me. So it doesn't help much. I got a couple questions coming in here. I probably have had them for a while. How much land do you think one person is able to farm part-time? About a half to an acre and a half. And that's depending on how much production you have in the field and in greenhouses and how many things you're doing successive plantings. That is the trickiest part about it. Honestly, I mean, part-time for a farmer kind of sort of is like 40 hours during the summer, because a full-time you're running 60 to 80 in the summer when it's main peak season. But if you're planning on doing like 20 hours a week, I would start with probably, I mean, honestly, if you had, see, I do all my beds in 40-foot lengths. They're market garden beds, so they're 30 inches wide. If you had one of the blocks I have out there, the smaller market garden area, where there is 32 beds in that block, that would be a really good starting point. So that's basically 16 beds that are 80 foot long. So you have the opportunity of basically 64 different areas or 32 different areas to play with. That's a really good starting point. And if you can do more, great. But you'll find out, especially if you're turning them with like lettuce and radishes and quick crops that you're turning all the time, that's where your main labor is. But again, when it comes summertime, if you've got a little caterpillar tunnel, say over 4 of those beds, that's 40 foot long, you have a row of, say, cherry tomatoes, a row of slicer tomatoes, and a row of cucumbers, and I don't know, like eggplants and peppers in there. Those are going to stay there, but you're going to spend probably 2 to 3 hours a week just harvesting those. That doesn't include packing them. That doesn't include trimming them, going through and dealing with pests when they come up. What I've kind of found more than anything is that with a lot of it, a lot of your time is spent, because you're doing farmers markets, is actually packing for the end consumer. I think right now, with the acre and a half we were doing, that's mainly our prime area, that we were spending roughly 22 hours a week in the pack building alone. That was just filling orders, packing orders, bagging up CSA, washing lettuce, bagging lettuce, washing roots, that whole number, putting tomatoes in little packages. Um, so that really, really helps. And then out in the field, you're turning beds. So the way I've always kind of calculated it is this is where I really, really want to do the numbers on and really, really get good numbers for, if I have one bed of tomatoes, it's going to be this much time per week. If I have one bed of lettuce, it's going to be this much time per week. I can't tell you harvesting lettuce on a 40-foot bed, one person that's good, is about 30 to 40 minutes. And that's clearing the whole entire 40-foot. So you've got that. But with that 30 to 40 minutes, you've got startup time and end time, and then wash time and pack that all down, you're probably looking at 2 hours. So just one bed of lettuce per week, you're looking at probably 4 roughly hours. And that doesn't include planting and prepping the beds that you'll also be doing because you're continuously planting it. So there's another 2 hours. So one bed of lettuce continuously through the week, every single week, would probably push 6 or 8 hours just right there. You add on a bed of, I don't know, say mustard greens or something. That's the same thing. Not as bad because you can quick cut that. So you're probably looking at 5. So those 2 beds, there's 10 hours per week to plant, wash, bag, pack, crop out the whole beginning and end, the whole entire cycle. Then you get your tomatoes, which are going to take you 30 minutes to probably pick, and there 30 minutes to portion down. Cucumbers not as bad because you just have to pick those, so there's another 30 minutes. So I mean, right there, you're already looking at 15 hours roughly. I don't know if my math is good, but that's just kind of what I'm feeling on top of my head. And you throw something else in there, and you're hitting 20 hours real quick with your farmer's market because there's 5 hours, 4 hours at the market, hour set up, hour tear down. So right there, that's 20 hours right there with a bed of tomatoes, a bed of peppers, a bed of cucumbers. That's not even counting the zucchini, which you could probably throw in there. Continuous bed of lettuce and continued bed of greens and maybe some radishes. So that's not even all 32 of those beds. You will eat up the majority of those because you're cycling, because you always have 5 of each of those beds consumed by a crop. So it adds up a lot very, very quickly. And without having help, that's where you get into trouble really quick. Then we go into, I got another question. How about a DIY paper pot transplanter? I'm not even going to try to make one of those. They make those for a specific reason. Go buy it and use it. The only thing I've ever seen is that Neversink tool, the zipper, where they drag the line through there and then they just stretch out and lay it in there, and they take the other side of it and it rezips the hole because it's kind of got like a thing like this, and it pushes the soil, kind of furrows it back in. Otherwise, there's a reason why they cost that much, is because they work. Out here, I couldn't do it because once summer hits, the grass is so bad out here. Our annual grass is such a problem that it would just overtake it. It wouldn't even be worth doing. What else do we have here? How do you tell someone they can't farm part-time without telling them they can't farm part-time? You can farm part-time. You just have to be very careful about the amount and what you plant. You can very easily overwhelm yourself, and you won't have to tell them that they can't, because they'll quickly realize that they are fighting a losing battle. I mean, that's all there is to it. You can try and you can try and you can try, but your part-time will soon become full-time. So, I mean, that's the biggest trick that we've always run into here, is trying to match the number of man hours we have with the number of man hours available. Because once you get into the midsummer and it's hot and you're in the turn and burn and the sludge of it, you don't want to keep doing 80 hours in the 100-degree heat trying to catch up. Because once you fall behind, you're playing catch up, it's horrible. You start to, you basically start losing the want to do it, and it burns out real quick. I've ran into it. Other employees out here have ran into it, and it becomes disheartening. It's a never-ending game of catch-up. That's why this year, during December and January, I spent so much time just kind of working on the little things that have never gotten finished because it gets so busy during the season. Like, I've got 2 of the greenhouses completely cleared out. Never had that done this early. The big giant greenhouse, the high tunnel that I've been working on, well, that's like 3 years old. I still haven't ever got the landscape fabric around the head and foot and around the sides to completely knock out the grass areas. I almost have that done. I almost have all the irrigation. I just got another order in from Barry Hill because when I did my order last year, I did my numbers horribly and did not have enough to do the other bed. So um, I hope that helps by, you don't really have to tell somebody until they do it and then they'll start to figure it out. But you can do it part time. You just have to be very careful with the amount and always have the backup silage tarp to go, all right, we are abandoning this whole area now. I had to do that with 8 beds of carrots last year because the grass took over. We didn't have time. I lost somebody. I was like, okay, done. We're just going to tarp it. They're over. We'll deal with that next season. I'm still actually need to go finish cleaning that up. Would you put the whole farm under high tunnels if you can afford it? Absolutely not. No, 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 because they are hot. During the summer here, they are extremely, extremely hot. Ray Tyler does it because of mainly they get so much rain. We don't have that much rain here. It's clear, it's sunny, wall to wall sunshine out here because we're on a flat plain. So we get sunshine from here to here. I hope I can see that. And nothing in between. So no, I wouldn't. I would like to have a little bit better system of setting up temporary tunnels for the winter, but I don't really push that hard in the winter anyways. Like I did 1 tunnel of greens this year and it was plenty. I actually could still have some, but I lost it. Had a bunch of bottom drop go through there just because it got to that point. I mean, that's all I can say. How many members does our farm have? That varies a lot. Past, primarily we've had me, my wife, and then 2 other part-time people. So I also do construction inspection on the side. My wife also works at a fabric store on the side. So we're all kind of, well, I'm still like 40 hours on top of everything else. And then we usually have 20 to 30-hour employees. So I more of look at it as how many man hours we need in the week to get the job done. During prime season, I mean, we've been looking at, let's see, 40, 60, 80, about 80 to 100 hours. So honestly, 2 full-time people could do a farm my size. I've just never been able to find 2 full-time people to do the farm my size. That's the biggest problem. I mean, I take up a lot of it, but there's also the other side. And I also, a lot of the projects I do aren't, necessarily profitable for the farm because I'm either building something or fixing something. So much of that time I really can't consider part of it because that's not even part of actually working, actually full on working with the farm. This past season, I lost both of my 2 main part-time people. Went through 6 other part-time people throughout the summer. The other 2 came back here and there. Maria and Adam, I was very thankful they did when they did because they're here a week or 2 here and there when they're going back and forth. And it was great help to get me caught back up. But I'm still trying to work with that. This year, probably going to produce maybe half as much and try to keep it more in the family. Past year, my wife only did the farmers markets. She wants to do a little bit more back here on the farm, so it'll be me and her. And then my mom just retired, and she wants to work in the pack building a little bit. And then my son's finally old enough to where I can get him to actually go out and do stuff. So I'll have him planting. And then I've got a buddy whose daughter's going to come out. She's just turned 16, so there's another harvester. So I think in between that, I can push my 40 to 60 hours and not get up to that 80 to 100. So I can actually stay within the means that I want to stay in. I'm also probably not going to be playing with either of the 2 big acre field blocks. Well, actually, I've got 3 of the acre field blocks open this year. And I don't think I'm going to plant the U-pick out there. I think the model for the U-pick this year, if I do it, will be, hey, look, I've got a market farm. Go pick. Stay out of the areas that, with the lettuce. That's going to be about the only rule. You want tomatoes? Go in the greenhouse, get tomatoes. I don't need to plant a whole nother row of tomatoes out there for you to pick on because when they don't get picked, then they look like crap. Then people don't want to pick them. And it's just a cycle. And then I've got to go pick them or somebody's got to go pick them. And it just, it ends up more and more. Let's see. Yeah, doing 8-hour work days at a normal job and then 6 hours after work, that will get you. That will get you really, really quick. You can flop it either way. that will get you and it'll burn you out, especially if you're doing 7 hours a week in farmers markets. Honestly, the best way to do it is to pace yourself and work your way up and up. I continue to work my way up and up and up because we started originally with, let's see, we had 4 beds, 5 beds, and then about 15 beds. That's what we had for our first season. We were planting 12 foot, roughly 1/3 of a 40-foot bed of each of our crops. And that was a good learning curve, a good marketing curve, and figure out what people wanted. And then we just, doubled it. And then we doubled it. And then we doubled it. And I broke up acre blocks and we tried to almost double that. And then it went the other way. And it's like, oh no, come on. We got to go back. We got to go back. We got to go back. This is too much. If I had a really, really good full-time team and I could devote myself 100%, then that would be great. The biggest problem is I can't because I get paid fairly decent for doing construction inspections. So I can't fully drop that off. I know unless I was doing like 80 acres worth of vegetables, which I do not want to do, or even a market garden out the whole 8 acres I have out here, that'd be the only way I could make up the income difference. I mean, it's great to have money, but I also have something really good to fall back on, just in case I hurt myself, or like I can't get any more labor, or we get sued and something happens. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that could happen. That's why I always try to keep something else on the back burner. How many CSA per boxes per week? And let's see, CSA boxes last season, we try to cap ours at 20 because packing 20 boxes just with a pure CSA where I just get to decide, that is about an hour's worth of packing every night. And that's some with 7 to 8 items, and the other half of them were with 4 to 5 or 3. They're the half shares. This year, we're doing it differently. I don't know if everybody knows we're doing it differently. It's almost full, and I've tried to convey what it was. But this year, you go onto the website, you have a special code, you enter that in, you choose from a set of CSA items, you put your order in, it prints out of my little Rolo printer over here. I have your ticket, I fill your ticket. You don't go on the website and you don't fill that ticket, then you go to the farmer's market and you pick whatever you want of 4 items off of the market stand. You can add on to it. We don't have an 8 share. We have a single share, and it is 4 items. You can also save 10% if you buy more items on top of it. So you could get, more stuff in there. But that's also the biggest thing I find with the CSA. There's some that love having all that variety, but I'd say 90% of them that have a full share do not ever order a full share again. That's just too much stuff. Most of them are older couples, 2 people, and by the end of the season, they're just so overwhelmed. They're like, this is great. This is just too much. We just can't do it. Stuff's going to waste. And that the waste part, at least in our region, turns people off. They don't want to have to give it away because they paid for it. Now they're wasting money. They feel they have to do something, and it goes to waste. And that's why I tuned everything down to 4 items. You want more? You can get more. That's great. But if you don't choose your 4 items, I'm not going to fill your box, which will save me time here on the farm. And you can just go to the farmer's market. We got everything right there on the stand, so why not just pick from it? A lot of people did this, and they'd go pick up, it was like 1/3 of them, I think 7 or 8 of them would pick up from the farmer's market. It's like, why am I packing the bag to send it to the farmer's market where all of our produce will be out there anyways? I mean, if they want certain things reserved, great. But it just doesn't make sense. So how many years have you been in this operation? This would be year 6 of doing market gardening. Selling at the farmer's market. We've gone through up, and now we've last season we went, and this season we're going to go here, and I want to kind of get leveled back out before I decide if we're going to go here, or I don't think we can scale back much more, but I think I kind of like where we're going, so we'll just kind of see. I mean, literally the whole entire operation that I can run all this off of is 1.5 acres, and that's including the building I'm sitting in right now. So that goes real quick. My alarm for shutting off the greenhouse is going off, but I never opened it today because it hasn't gone above freezing. It's been cloudy, snowing. It's one other thing. Great tip. If you have greenhouses this time of year, set an alarm not only to open them, but to close them. Because if you forget either of those, you either cook them, make stuff bolt, or it'll freeze overnight because you forgot to put the frost blanket back on and shut the door. Very, very good advice. Let's see, what else do we have? How many years did I run solo? I never ran solo. My wife was always there to help me. First, let's see, I know first 2 years for sure. It was just me, and I did all the field work, and then my wife did all of the post-harvest washing, cleaning. I think this is the third year, halfway through the season is when we finally brought somebody on because I just went too far. Plain and simple, there just wasn't enough of me. So that's kind of where that goes. You'll know when to hire somebody because you'll need to hire somebody, and it is pretty easy to hire somebody. But the biggest problem most people they think of a garden where they just go out and I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to pick a little of this and pick a little of that. It's like, no, this is like real work. You're going to be out there bent over for an hour harvesting lettuce. You're going to be out there for an hour and a half harvesting and bunching radishes. And then you're going to spend another couple hours cleaning all this stuff. And then it's way more than people ever think. And that's the biggest thing. That's why I try to convey to people when they start. It's like, don't do this as a part-time job on top of a full-time job because you're only going to last here a month. If you stay-at-home moms, teachers, people that are just, available 4 or 5 hours during the day are the perfect type of people you want that can come out, 4 days a week for 4 hours. That's 16 hours. That's really nothing when it comes down to paying out, but that is a good chunk of time to do, they can watch a greenhouse, they can, be the person that plants every week or just in the pack shed. I mean, there's a lot of good benefits to that. Okay, so, washing guys, 17 beds. I mean, I think that might be pretty standard. I mean, you start off with what you think might be a lot, and then you go, well, that's not that bad until it gets real bad, until you get too much. Yeah. And this is what a lot of market gardeners do. I mean, you start off and you're like, oh, let's go bigger, let's go bigger, let's go bigger. And then all of a sudden you start realizing the logistics of it. And it gets more expensive to get bigger because then you're carrying insurance and workers' comp, which we don't have to carry on a farm unless, you're selling other stuff. And then you get a vehicle involved. So you got a specific vehicle for the farm. So you got insurance on that. And then farmers market fees because you want to get bigger, more stands, more space, more stalls, more different farmers markets. And next thing you know, you're carrying an overhead of, like $20,000 a year that you just have to make before you even start making money because you're up here instead of down here. So it's real, you get to the point where this overhead starts to go the same when you get bigger and your profits start to go up. But in this middle point, you're at a real risk of having too much overhead to keep everything running and you're not making enough. Where if you're smaller, then you have a much better, chance because you're still making money up here, but you have this much of a profit margin. You get employees and everything, that profit margin goes down in the middle point because you have much higher overhead because of that. So it's real tricky, especially if you try dealing with chefs, which are really unpredictable, at least in our area. Wholesaling at this scale is not even a thought on my mind because I see the prices that stuff sells for. And the only way I can consider that would even be profitable is if I went out there and I planted an acre of radishes, I hired a bunch of temporary labor, and we went through and harvested the whole thing, 3 days, straight off, gone. You can make money because you're making a percentage over what it's costing to produce. So if I'm only making 2% or, let's say 5% over, on a 40-foot bed, I'm making 5% over what it costs to produce it. That's nothing. On an acre, which would be, I can't remember. I did the math once. Like 600 beds, I think. That's 600 times that 10%, instead of making, say, $100 a bed, you're making $6,000 from the acre. That makes sense doing. So, but at this scale, it does not make sense doing. What are your most profitable crops? I Out of all the numbers, I've never ran them hard enough because I don't have the amount of time spent. That's the one thing I want to do this year and really focus down on the amount of time spent per crop individually with the tracking stuff I'm doing. But I would honestly have to say the most profitable would either be for the time spent and the amount of time they're in the bed. Like if I did it per week of time in the bed, lettuce 100% is the most profitable because it's only out there in the bed for 5 weeks on average. So that'd be the most profitable per the amount of time it's in the bed. For the whole entire crop being there, I would have to say most likely would be the cherry tomatoes or the cucumbers. They're kind of a one or the other. It's really hard to tell because the amount of labor you put in, you plant them, you really don't do much. You walk by once a day and kind of spin them up a little bit and maybe pinch off some, maybe an hour's worth a week, maybe. So you got about 2 hours to plant and prep. You got another 45 minutes a week per bed, maybe 30 minutes a week per bed to twist them, and then 30 minutes to harvest them, and you're done. I mean, you've still got to package up your cherry tomatoes. But those would be probably the most profitable for the amount of labor that goes into them as a crop. But they're there for March, well, let's see, from April to September. So that's taking up a lot of time that they're there. So that's a lot of things that could be cycled through that area that never get cycled because it's there. So if you're looking at per bed per week, then the profit goes down, and lettuce would be the same. Some other ones. There was one that really surprised me. Oh, the little daikon radishes, the little mini macs. They look like basically like little white potatoes. Those go in. Is it 7 weeks in the fall before you have them? You harvest the whole entire bed off. You just twist the tops off, throw them in a bin. Do not wash them. Then you wash them as you pack them out. That's a really high one because we sell 3/4 of a pound to 1 pound, depending on how much I'm trying to get rid of, bags for $4 a piece. So that was one planting. I might have drug a landscape rake through there once for weeding because they're fall or an early spring crop, so there's not that much weed competition. And then you spend about an hour a bed harvesting them out, and you're done. Same thing with some storage radishes can be that way too. And the great thing is that when they store, you sell 100% of it no matter what. That has got to be the biggest thing that will sink any farm of this size. If you overproduce by 20%, this is not a number I've actually calculated, but this is what I've always kind of been a rule of thumb, and I can kind of see it. If you overproduce by 20%, that is your profit gone. You did not make any money off that crop. You paid for all the labor and materials and inputs, but you did not earn anything off that crop. You might as well just throw it all away. There's no reason to even grow it other than to pay somebody or pay yourself to grow it. But all in all, the farm did not make a dime off of it. So that's where you have to be really careful with the amounts you grow. That's the other biggest mistake people make is they try to grow too much of stuff. Like we cut off growing head lettuce. The reason why, I'd say probably 1/3 of them never develop right. They get stressed somewhere along the lines. Then you harvest them. You have 1 week to sell them. So if the farmer's market's not good that week, or people just don't want to pay, $4 for a head lettuce, even though it's fancy, it looks good, and it's nice, and it's really nicely grown, then flam, gone, no money off it. If you only sell half it, you actually lost money doing it. So it's really an intricate dance. I mean, the idea with being a market farmer is you grow it, you harvest it all, and then you sell it all. If you're sold out by 11 o'clock and the market ends at noon, perfect. If you sold out at, say, 9:30 or 10 o'clock on an item, then you should probably plant more of it. Also, you should have people complain about how high your prices are. They'll still buy it, but they like to complain. If they're not complaining, your prices are too damn cheap and you need to raise your prices now. Biggest complaint we ever got was, because we have sales tax on our food here in the state, is that We were charging sales tax because we were the only stand out there that had sales tax on top of it, because I think we're the only ones that actually pay our damn sales tax. But we have a Shopify portal, so it easily puts sales tax on top. People hated it. I went and raised the price 50 cents on everything, which was actually raising the price above what we were charging, because it was $4 plus tax, which ended up being like $4.37. So instead, I raised it to $4.50. Nobody complained after that. So it's $4.50 with tax, which was actually like $4.12 or $13. So I actually raised the price by, well, what was it, like 5% or something, and no one cared. They just did not want to pay the extra sales tax on top, which I don't. This consumer something in this area, when we also have this big kick, well, it was last year, of AXA sales tax, which they cut it, but they're not going to cut it in half until the beginning of this year. Well, they cut off 2%, and then they're going to cut off 2% beginning of next year, and then another 2.5% at the beginning of the next year. So it's still there. But people don't understand that because of this political ads. Oh, we got rid of the sales tax on food. People don't look at their grocery store receipts, apparently. Do you do overhead or drip irrigation, or both? I do everything. Like it or not, I do. All of our greens are in overhead. Always, always, always. If it's in plastic mulch, which I'm kind of maybe going to experiment with this year, it'll have to be on drip because you can't get overhead to go through the plastic mulch. It's not permeable. Anything on landscape fabric, the irrigation, the overhead goes right through. All of my, what you basically call biannual, or not biannual, the half-season crops. I'm losing the term for it right now. They're not the quick turns, like your peppers and your cucumbers and eggplants, things like that. Things that are going to be out there about half the season. Those all go on either landscape fabric or plastic mulch. I put drip irrigation underneath the plastic mulch, and I put drip irrigation on top of the landscape fabric. It'll soak right through it just fine. You don't have to worry about it. So I do both ways. All the greenhouses, I just recently got done setting up the rest of my overhead irrigation, and that is number one. So when the tunnel's set and it hasn't been used and it dried out, I need a way to get everything remoistened, get the soil biology back going, get the thing ready to start rolling. Can't do that with drip. It does not work. It just doesn't work here with my soil. So I've got that, and then I've got it for greens production. But then once I fill that thing full of cucumbers or tomatoes, only on drip, solely drip. And we use the drip tape that is, it's not necessarily one use. I try to get the higher, like the 12 to 15 mil type drip tape, 12-inch centers, because I can reuse it multi-seasons. Eventually it does start to fall apart, and then you got to get rid of it. Now, the stuff that goes underneath the plastic mulch, because I have that plastic mulch layer, I get the cheap single-use stuff. I've tried to reuse it, and you can reuse it. I've even got a little thing you reel it up, and then you can run it back by running a string underneath it instead of drip irrigation. But as far as I can tell, it's actually costing me more to do that than it would be just to get rid of it. And that's the things you really have to look at when you're running a business, is you have to make money running the business, or it's not worth having a business. I mean, you have to make those decisions. It'd be a lot better if I didn't have to use any of that stuff, any of the covers, but the grass pressure out here is so bad, I have no choice. I have to do something other than spraying grass off, which is a great modern chemical that all the big farms use, all the commercial non-organic farms use, because it makes it to where grass does not grow. You can spray it on top of your tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers. I'm not sure if you can do it on greens or not, but it literally will keep grass from growing all season. It's some kind of pre-emergent. It's crazy. Same thing with like pest management now. The chemigating, which if nobody knows what that is, actually you inject a chemical into your drip irrigation. It goes into the plant. The bugs eat the plant, and the bugs die because the plant is poisonous. Then we harvest it, and then we eat it. So, I mean, that kind of says it there in a nutshell. That's kind of crazy. Okay, so the experience with headless is the same. Yeah, we do basically all the cut stuff. We use all the Salanova varieties. I did watch a Johnny's seminar today, and And they have a new one called, oh crap, what was it? I actually ordered it halfway through the seminar because they kept saying it, and the numbers they showed, it actually yielded better than the Green Sweet Crisp, which I thought was kind of wild. There's Green Sweet Crisp. Hampton did really good on their trials, but they're up in Maine, so it's really hard to tell. And then the other one, Evercut, Ultra Cut. I can't remember what it is, but it's almost the same as a Green Sweet Crisp. So Washington guys mentioned in on the labor on harvesting a bed. Yeah, with the Salanova heads and the single cut heads, that is the amount of time. I actually last season grew a bed of All Star and Frilly mix and another. I bought them from a whole bunch of different companies, and our clientele does not like that stuff. Not at all. I had a lot of complaints like, oh, you don't have the crinkly lettuce this week, which would be the Salanova varieties and the Hamptons and the Easy Cuts. So those varieties that have the more thicker texture to them. But people were mad because they were getting, which was a really quality, really nice lettuce, but it was really soft, and they didn't like the soft lettuce, which I thought was crazy. I did find if I had enough of the other stuff, I could mix it, and they didn't care. But when I just, that bed's not ready, I have to wait, or that bed got, lost, cutworms hit it too bad, I just don't have the supply, I'm just going to have to bag all this other stuff up, because I just plan just to have it. I mean, one bed of that quick cut, easy cut, all-star, whatever you want to call it, if I didn't need it, I could just terminate the bed, tarp it, and it was gone in a week, no problem. As long as I kept it small and didn't let it get out of hand, didn't try to go for a second cut. So it was always just like a fallback if I needed it. And I did need it quite a few times. So the labor savings pay for itself rather fast. Yeah. Do you run a quick cut greens harvester? Yeah, we do run the quick cut. We did a lot on Nebraska mix we used to do. Red Mizuna, green Mizuna, red Russian kale. You mix it all together and you plant it all in one bed. I think we did 7 rows on a bed, if I remember right. Yeah, with the X24, I believe. That sounds like a lot of seed because those are all really small. No, we had to have used a smaller wheel. The YYJ, yeah, because I'd spread it out a little bit more. We did 7 on that. Didn't barely eat up any seed, but the mustard greens would grow. Let's see, grow a little quicker than the kale. So it started to shadow out the kale and make the kale actually stretch. So it'd all be about the same height when it came to harvesting. And yes, it was great. I just can't sell enough of it to warrant doing a whole bed the whole time. That's where more of a business decision, quick, easy, profitable. But if I'm not selling enough of it, I'm actually bagging it and losing a bunch of it, I've lost out on the labor of all that, and it doesn't make it worth doing. We also used to mix it in with our lettuce mix too. We do what we called a spicy mix, and people loved it. But it also made it to where I could only sell that bag 1 week because if anybody's ever grown red Russian kale and bagged it before, it goes yellow after about a week. So after that, that bag's gone out the window. Even though all the lettuce in there, I could still get at least another week out of it. Do you transplant mostly or direct seed more? We have used the Earthway seeder. Earthway seeder can be good, but you've got to like file the cups down and do some really finicky stuff. We use the Jang seeder primarily. The last time I got out the Earthway was to plant corn. Does good with corn, does good with green beans, bush beans. I never had that much luck with peas. It didn't plant them thick enough, actually. I run 2 back and forth, and it still didn't plant them thick enough. But we do anymore. We plant out a bed of lettuce a week, so that's all transplanted. We plant out usually a bed of radishes, so that's direct seeded. Then we plant out, maybe a bed of spinach, which is direct seeded, and try to rotate in the brassica mix or arugula or something. So that's direct seeded. So I guess actually now I probably am doing more direct seeding than transplanting, because we're not pushing the lettuce game that hard. That's our primary transplant. And of course, all of our full season stuff, all of our tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and all that stuff, zucchinis, we transplant all that. The cucumbers and zucchinis, people think I'm crazy for transplanting them. You put them in there, I think it's like 3 or 4 days, maybe a week after they come up. Before that taproot starts really pushing on the bottom, transplant that sucker. That way you have good germination in your germination chamber. You're assured, you know your plant space will be right because it's already alive. Plug them, go, they send that taproot down, and they take off. So I got Washington guys saying, yeah, the regional thing is crazy because the All-Star up there is what they want. They don't want All-Star here. I can also sell more radishes than anybody ever thought possible according to everybody else in the nation. I can plant a 40-foot bed of radishes and sell them all every single week until it gets to where the point where they're almost inedible because they are so damn spicy. And I can still sell almost a third of a bed per week. That's something that very few other people can actually say in the nation. Everybody's so surprised because they can't give damn radishes away. But we have a really highly Germanic background area around here. They all came over in Kansas in the 1850s and 60s when it first opened up. So that's where we have the advantage. So that is what it is. I mean, regional stuff's weird. I can't sell collards. I also can't sell Swiss chard. I can sell kale, but not during the spring, only during the summer and fall. But you have to plant it early anyways. It's weird, and it also changes season to season just because of what happens to be cool this year instead of last year. Another thing we're transplanting, we transplant all of our cabbages in. So that'd be another green type head. We're doing tiaras this year. I really want to try them. I'm guessing they get about softball size. I think those will be really cool because a lot of people don't want that much cabbage. I've found that out a lot. The Bilkos, the Chinese ones, I mean, if anybody's ever grown them, they turn into like a football. I mean, bigger than a football. They're huge, like a small watermelon. It's like 4 pounds of cabbage. People around here don't want 4 pounds of cabbage. They want like maybe 1 or 2 pounds. I'm also doing the Famosas, which I actually still have down in the greenhouse over there. Got the first one because I planted them late, and it was about the size of a softball. Great taste, nice, beautiful, thick. It was really nice. So I have any fruit trees? Yes, I have a nice failure of an orchard right behind me, actually. Tried to do a permaculture orchard. I planted it on the top of the land, which happens to be the worst dirt. The topsoil is only about maybe that thick. Because at some point, this traditional cropland for over 150 years, they flattened this booger. So I'm guessing that's where the high spot was, because there's nothing underneath it. I think out of the 20 or so fruit trees I planted, maybe 5 are still alive. They might pop up again, but then they pop up and the deer come along and go, and they've never gotten above 4 foot tall. So I also never got the irrigation out there, and it's been super dry the last 2 summers, and they've only been out there for 3 years. It is what it is. I've got a fruit tree by the house. I got a peach tree, but it died off, so I've come to discover that it's just rootstock. It makes little tiny peaches about that big. They're good. They're just not big. I've tried grafting it a couple times. I haven't got a graft to set. The problem is when you have all this other stuff, things get pushed on the back burner, and it really just, I really, really want to, but those are all back there. They're literally right behind me. I know they're there. I mow around them all the time, but they have just done horrible. I wish I could do something more. If I ideally could have labor to do the main turn and burn type of crops like I've had in the past, to where I can go do stuff now that the farm is basically as built as I'm going to build it for a while, then I can start doing that kind of stuff again. Because if I'm out experimenting, I'm not worried about getting paid for it. That's none of my concern. It's when I'm doing 50,000 other things, and then I've got that thing that's taking up time, then it becomes a concern. Do you shade your lettuce in the summer? Yes, 100%. We use 30% shade cloth right after we plant. A lot of people only leave it on there for 2 weeks during the summer. We leave it on the whole entire time. But again, that's because, like I was talking about earlier, we're flat here, like flat. And the sun comes up, there's no tree line. It goes back down, there's a little bit of a tree line. So it's like 15 hours of light a day, and it does not hurt them to be shaded. People that have more stuff around them, more hills, more everything, to where they have less amount of light on your crops a day, they all only do 20% of the day, and the majority of them use 30%, or not 20%. They do it for the first 2 weeks after transplant. I actually discovered this on accident because I was not watching my employees enough, and they just left it on there because they either lazy or forgot or just didn't want to do it anymore because it was take it off, put it back on, and it was just whatever. And those were doing great. I was like, okay, cool, awesome. We'll just, yeah, whole time. Then you don't have to worry about it. You only take it off at the end. You have to order more shade cloth, which has gotten stupidly expensive. But we use the black 30%. The white 30% that they try to say is 30% is not 30%. It's like an insect netting that's like little 1/4 inch nets. I returned the last stuff I got. Even the vendor I got it from was like, what the hell did they send you? Because he ordered it from his third party and had it drop shipped to me instead of even going through him. Do you ever apply for grant funding? Yes, we get a lot of grant funding. The building I'm sitting in, this is a COVID grant. The whole entire wash pack, this whole entire thing is a COVID grant. I wrote the most crazy COVID grant possible, and it was a grant. It was a preserving local food grant or something. It wasn't the money payout things they were doing. This was completely different. It was a competitive grant, and I literally, we were in a little pack shed. According to the COVID regulations, I shouldn't have even had two people in there. Two people were working in there at all times, and they was, hey, we need more space. This is what it should be, and if we're gonna do it, I just made the craziest plan possible. I put FRP on all the walls. I put in a restroom. I've got a water rail that runs around the whole place. I ran full power out here. I also got the walk-in sitting next to me, a big old 8x12. There was supposed to be another walk-in as well for tomatoes and stuff, but when I bid all this stuff out, and I did almost all the work myself, I didn't account, number one, for my labor. If you're ever writing grants, always include your labor in it. Number one mistake. Number one mistake. The second part was I bid it out in like September, and that's right at the end of the year when the price of everything first jumped and like lumber doubled and all building materials doubled. So I actually had to scale back the building. I think I knocked 10 foot off of the end of it. The width was still the same. And I didn't quite get all the cool stuff I wanted to do with it because I was supposed to get standstill tables and racks and bins and everything. End up losing, not being able to get one of the walk-ins, so that's like $5,000 right there. But yeah, also NCRS grants. Those are great. All my high tunnels have been paid for with NCRS grants. This past year, we actually got a grant as well for the plastic mulch we put down as part of the NCRS program as well. The one caution is when you get grants, that's income. That's great if you used it all that year to actually do what you did. Like with the high tunnels this year, we got paid for the grant, but I actually purchased all the stuff last year, so it was written off on last year's taxes instead of this year. And then we got the plastic mulch grant, which was just a crazy amount. All in all, this year we got 10 grand in grants. I now owe $4,000 to the $3,000 to the federal and $1,000 to the state government because that $10,000 kicked my income up and pushed me into another tax bracket. So they gave me 10, they went back 4. So actually I got 6. But all the stuff that was actually built with the grant was written off of the previous year. So the labor, all of it. I think it would have came out just about right. But instead of having it shifted like that, I really got into some trouble. I knew this was coming. I purchased all my seed earlier. I tried to purchase everything I could earlier. I bought all the stuff to finish off the background around me. I also purchased other things, more bins, more totes. Just, I knew it was coming and I knew that it was not going to add up. Also, we didn't have as much labor to where we were actually doing, well, primarily me, was doing more that the labor was not doing. So that money went to me as well. So I knew my income was going to be higher from the farm this year. But it is what it is. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it now. I do know I have a couple more write-offs I need to look in exactly how to do. Because I mean, I paid my son a bunch last year, and I have a record of it, but I didn't W-2 them, so I got to figure out exactly how. I know you can do 12,500 or 5,000 or 499. I need to get the exactness because I don't want to cheat on the taxes, because then you get in trouble, and then when you get audited, because most farms show losses continuously and a few profits here and there. I want the books to be right. I mean, that's why we pay all of our sales tax. We pay everything through account. We use checks. We use QuickBooks. I mean, everything is accountable, traceable, and up to par as it should be, as well as we can do it. I know there's things that get dropped, things get fall through the gaps. I mean, that happens with any business, but we try to do the best possible. So when we get audited, which will inevitably happen because farms show loss for so many years straight, we're just not up the shit creek, and oh yeah, now we owe the government $20,000, and guess what? I'm out of business. Here, take all my farm stuff, go auction it off because the business owns it. That's the other thing. The business does not own a lot of the stuff on this farm. They don't own the hand tools. They don't own the sheds up front. They don't own either of the tractors. That's the other one I forgot, because I technically rent that tractor from my mom. We do all the labor on it. It's their tractor. I have a contract per hour of use out of that tractor that gets paid to them every season. This last year was actually paid through a CSA, so I've got that. The other, the Allis-Chalmers, that's my tractor. That is not the farm's tractor. The farm does not own that. All the implements are my implements. The farm does not own those. They do use them. I need to look into doing that as well. So there's a lot of stuff. You just need to find a good tax attorney too. But yeah, I mean, go try to get as many grants as possible. They're well worth it. They will get you up to a nice producing level and get you in somewhere comfortable like I have now. I mean, I could never have built this. Never. Would not even have tried to build this. We'd still be in a little shed that I think I spent $1,000 on that shed. But it was worth it when I built it out. It was exactly what I needed. It's nice and small, nice and compact. A nice little walk-in around the corner, which I actually should have a hole that was going to punch through into it from the pack area. It was perfect, even for the size we're right now. It still would have been perfect. Now I've got this place, but with this place is bigger, and guess what comes with bigger? It's got more junk in it. Now I've got to clean this damn thing out. I mean, I'm just looking at the racks next to me because there's just junk everywhere. It drives me nuts. But I have everything I could possibly need here to go to any scale I want, so yeah, there's trade-offs here and there. Check with your FSA office. Check with NCRS. A lot of people will help you out. Ask other farmers in your region, because that's just what we have here. But we've been on here for about an hour now, so pretty much I got to wrap this baby up. I got to finish packing. I still got to vacuum out the farm van. We're driving 10 hours tomorrow from Tecumseh, Kansas to Belton, Texas for the Mother Earth News Fair. I will be speaking Sunday at 2:30 and 3:30? No. 12:30 and 1:30? 12:30 and 4:30? I don't know. I'm talking on Sunday. I'm going to go play down in Austin on Saturday because I've never had a chance to actually play there the 3 or 4 times I've been there, because it was always on different work and training and things like that. So it'll be fun. On the way back, I get to go pick up my Dairy Dew seed starter from Voodoo Hydro and get the last of what they have. Sue apparently did not renew her license in Oklahoma, is what they told me, so they'll no longer be selling to them. I don't think they sold enough to make it worth it, is what happened. Because I think I'm buying the same stuff I bought last year. I think I picked up 40 bags last year. I'm going to get 30 this year. And then after that, I'll be driving to St. Louis, or I don't know, somewhere around here to pick it up. That'll be the one great thing if keep doing the Mother Earth News Fairs, is that they're up there in Michigan, and I'll be going to Erie, Pennsylvania, so I'll be driving pretty much by there. I could pick it up and bring it back with me. I believe it's cheaper that way too. So, as always, hope you all like what you saw today. Thursday questionnaire. If you have questions, Arkenberg Farms with an S, questions with an S at yahoo.com. Submit your questions if you can't be there. Submit them other ways through. Go to arkenbergfarms.com website, down at the bottom, digital tools and training. Bunch of cool stuff down there. I will actually be recording both the presentations I give as DIY farm tools and DIY market garden tools. That's basically all the stuff I built here, condensed into 2 presentations. I'll be recording those. Those will be for sale too. If you actually go there, you'll get the coupon code and you'll get it for free. So again, thank y'all. I'm going to go pack. I'm going to get the hell out of this snowy, cold environment and go on vacation for 4 days and relax and have fun. And I advise everybody to do the same because the season's getting ready to start and there won't be any stopping again until, well, in my case, January. So, see y'all.